Hello, my name is Steve Legakis. I am with Team Multi-User Solutions. We have um, putting this video together for iTech 5120, the master's program, Dr. Spangler's class for project management. Basically, our project is we wanted to keep it small enough that it was realizable and big enough to where there were milestones, there were uh, risks that needed to be addressed, that kind of thing. So we decided to go with installing McDonald's wireless Wi-Fi in all the McDonald's in the state of Georgia. Um, this was, sorry. The first question you have to ask yourself is, why is the project important? What's necessary? Why is this project required? The response to that is McDonald's is in competition, direct competition with Chick-fil-A, Burger King, and other fast food vendors. And they all offer wireless internet connection. So in order to stay competitive, it's very important that McDonald's answer in kind with their own version of Wi-Fi. And again, one of the statistics we have is 68% of adults have some sort of a smart device. So it's important that people stay connected, and they want to do that while they're eating. So this is why the project really needs to move forward. So the scope, just the locations alone, there are 511 locations, McDonald's locations in the state of Georgia. Our goal is to have all of them installed with wireless by the end of the 90-day mark. Each location will have a single wireless access point. This is it's really simple, but it's a big project. The scope of it is very small in terms of what actually needs to be done. If this was an individual thing, just one wireless access point put in one McDonald's, it would not be nearly as cumbersome a project as it is to do all of them in a 90-day time frame. Now our Gantt chart, I'm not going to show the Gantt chart here. Here are bits and pieces of the Gantt chart. We show an 80-day completion time on our Gantt chart. The manpower we're going to need is basically we're going to have 2 project managers. Each project manager will manage 3 crews. Each crew will have 2 team members. So here we have a breakdown of 6 crews, 2 men each. And our goal is to have 12 McDonald's knocked out every night. That's approximately 42 days. So we've put in a little fluff time. We put in an additional week because there are always things that are going to go wrong, especially when you're dealing with people. And this is nothing but a people project. The mechanical part of it is very small. The people are the weakest link, making sure you have access to the right equipment closets, the right people with the right keys are there at the right time. There's no problem with vehicle breakdowns or receiving an incorrect or not receiving your equipment that you needed that night. There are any number of problems, and some of these I've addressed some of them in the response chart. Basically, the hardware is very simple. We're going to have a single access point and about 100 feet of cable per location. This is a pretty simple, it's a pretty standard formula for each location, some a little more, some a little less, but the average is 100 feet of cable per, and each wireless access point will be pre-configured by the manager before being shipped to the location. Actually, it would be shipped to a predetermined UPS or FedEx location, UPS store rather, before installation is to take place. That way we can make sure we can have tracking and everything else that's necessary to have this done. But each AP is going to be pre-configured so that the installers really mount it, run a cable, attach it to the router supplied by the store owner or store manager, and they can move on to the next one. Here's a basic floor plan. This is how we came to the 100 feet. This is a pretty standard location. We pulled this off the internet. Your AP will cover, one AP will cover the majority of the dining room. Some of it will spill out, some of the signal will spill out into the surrounding parking lot, but that's really not what we're focused on. We're focused on strictly the dining area alone. And you can see here the manager's office. Usually your AP, your wireless, your router is going to be in here, and your AP is going to be out here, and the kind of squiggly lines designate the signal propagating out through the dining area. Here's a breakdown of our ballpark, what we think the project will cost. We have roughly $90,000 in wireless APs at $170 per. Now, we have not taken into consideration shipping, any kind of returns. This is just a straight number. We're going to need approximately 75 boxes of 1,000 feet, or 55 boxes, $75 per. So it's roughly 4,000. If this was a real project, we'd probably bump that up to 6,000. Basically, here we have our installers at $20 an hour. Each installer will have a 1099 come to them. We're not paying for insurance. This is a very small project, relatively speaking, relative to the career of individuals. We're not going to have W-2s. It'll all be 1099s. They can do their own mileage, whatever they want to do there. This is basically what their cost will be for the time that we have allotted for them, is roughly $30,000. Our two managers who will be involved will make $50 an hour, and they will be involved in the project considerably longer than the installers will. So that's why the cost for the two of them is so much more. Not to mention the fact that they're also making almost twice what the, over twice what the installers are making. Oops, let's go back there if we can. So basically your total here is 266,000. We would round that probably up to 275, just for wiggle room. There are a lot of things we haven't taken into consideration, any kind of equipment that the managers may need. The installer should be self-sufficient. They should have their own tools. This will all be covered in the when they hire on. Do you have your own tools? We're not supplying you with tools, so that their side of it is taken care of for the most part. The managers, on the other hand, will need office equipment, possibly. It just depends on how we have them work from home. Or are they working from a specific location? Most likely they'd work from home. So now we're going to move into key tasks and milestones. We have here basically some of the milestones here are your form your project team, create your WBS, interviewing your new hires, interviewing your installers, finding some installers. Installation begins, installation wraps up, final project, and project is complete. These are the majority ones. These are the what we consider to be milestones, and you'll see those on the other half of the chart. These are the milestones that we have that are associated with each one of those events that's to happen. You see the wrap up at the end. Some of the possible risks, again, this is not an exhaustive list. This was a, what can I come up with? What are some of the obvious ones? What are some of the big ones? Team members leave. You'd want to have a backup, or you want them cross-trained. Shipping problems, prepare rescheduling, ensure that all your tracking information is up to date. These are the owners of these, the technicians, especially the cross-training. You're going to have, usually in a situation where you've got two technicians, one of them is going to assume the role of leader. It just happens naturally. You'd want to make sure that your second is either prepared to assume the role or that you are in a position to where you can hire somebody to replace them if necessary. There is a small amount of training that was involved, and that was back on the Gantt chart where we took, I think, 2 or 3 days to train our technicians in the basic, the paperwork and the physical installation. We would run them through an installation, make sure they knew what they were doing, make sure they were tooled up. Moving on, some equipment failures. If your equipment fails on site, you have a problem. If your equipment, this is one of the reasons why we have the project managers install or pre-configure the routers before they are delivered. First, to make sure they even turn on. If there's any problems there, your project manager is supposed to move into the replacement, get your replacements. We also plan one of the equipment failures. If you look down under supply shortages, 5% of spares. If you're planning 12 a night, that's 50, 60, 70 a week. You'd probably want to have 4 or 5 sitting around ready to go at a moment's notice. You could AM deliver it for the next day if you had to, but you'd want to keep some spares on hand just to make sure you don't miss. UPS didn't come to the house that day, or they missed it, or whatever. So you're sitting on a day's worth of equipment that can be sent out really quickly. You also want, like I said, if you've got equipment failures in the field, you'd want a spare to go ahead and, if you find out you've got a failure fast enough, you may even get it there that day, depending on location. You are in the state of Georgia. It is possible to drive the thing if you have to. So that is something that can be considered. Again, the scope of this was very small. If you're doing a national thing, you'd want PMs, at least one PM in each state, or multiple PMs in each state to handle this kind of problem. Lack of revisits. If you get there and somebody's not there, and you want to minimize that, so you want to test your equipment before it ships, and you also, before you start rolling towards your next install, you want to make sure that the person that's supposed to be there is there. If they're not there, the next person on the list that's supposed to be there is there or accessible, or at least you can get to them on the phone. What's the situation? Are we still on? And something I didn't have on here is have alternate sites. Like if you're in a larger town, you may have 5 or 6 McDonald's within a few minutes drive. It's not difficult to come across a McDonald's, so you may have alternate sites. Okay, site A didn't work tonight, we'll go to site B and site C as opposed to site A and site B. Lack of access to site. Again, we make sure our phones are working and our phone list is complete. That's one of the most important parts of this whole thing, is making sure that our list of contacts for each location is current. And that's pretty much the end of the project. This has been a pretty, you learn a lot of stuff when you get into a situation like this. So anyway, thank you very much.